Well, before we start,
And then how Kim was saying porn.
let's start over.
Okay.
That went off the rails. Wait. So this is the Completely Inappropriate Podcast, everybody. Hello, hi there. How are you? I am Tony, along with Mr.
Frank.
Frank, how you doing today?
I'm okay.
Yeah? So about as good as you were at the beginning of the last episode, because as everybody knows, we record today. Let's start over, shall we?
Okay.
No, so we are talking about sex. Yeah. But before we talk about sex, we want to let you guys know how you can get more of us in you. Or in your life. You can find us on Facebook, BitChute, YouTube, all the Completely Inappropriate Podcast. Throw in some underscores on BitChute, you'll be alright. You can find us at completelyinappropriatepodcast@gmail.com with any comments, questions, concerns, or any fucking thing at all you want to fucking say. You need a therapist? We are not them, but tell us your problems. We'll do some Q&A on you. We'll do some love advice on here or something. I don't know. What you got? Tell us. Let us know what you think of our sex episode when we're done here, and let us know if you want any sex advice from us. That would be interesting.
I thought if you want any sex, like, you're married.
Hit up Frank.
Yeah.
Or just hit Frank. One or the other. Either
I'll
way,
take
it's a
one
sexual
for the team.
experience. So, what am I missing here? Anything else? Doesn't matter.
Oh,
Should we just continue?
CI podcast
Alright.
and Completely Inap.
You know where to find these people. Just share with your friends. That's what it's all about. Give us a 5-star review wherever you
Sharing
find
is caring.
reviewing area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ramble
Mhm.
some more. So Frank, I wanted to ask some very sexy questions.
Okay.
First off.
Yes, I am a virgin.
So when, I'm not even addressing your stupid shit right now. So what was your first exposure to pornography?
It
Do you remember?
was an accident. I'm trying to remember which one. 'Cause
Which
it's-
accident?
No. Like, I remember.
How do you accidentally get exposed to
No, because I remember being sent to the car to go get something, and then I looked under the seat, and I see, because back then, kids, there was this thing called porno mags. Right?
Yeah, there were still images. This is just images, mind you. No moving videos.
It's like a papery block of pictures.
Oh yeah, so you know how you have photos on your pictures on your phone? Well, they used to come on sheets of paper. Some were very high gloss, some not so high gloss, some high resolution, some low resolution. But yeah, so you found this magazine?
Yeah, underneath the car seats.
And just to be extra clear, for those of you still in school, we're not talking about the magazines that you're hiding in between your bed that you're about to load into your AK and go shoot up your school with. These are porno magazines, the ones you should have under your bed. You fucking kids. That's the problem with kids nowadays. They are so sexually deprived up to a certain age until they're allowed to have phones. And then all of a sudden, sex is just thrown at them because all of a sudden they've got a cell phone or access to the internet or computer. Like, so I don't blame these kids for going all batshit crazy when it comes to when they fucking finally find porn. Like, I was kind of exposed to sexual talk and sex at a young age just because my parents, well not my parents, but the adults in my life were a lot more casual about talking to us. Like, what? He's going to learn about it eventually anyway kind of thing, you know? They weren't gratuitous about saying, oh yeah, I fuck her good, like in front of a 5-year-old. But they, like around 6, 7, they started getting a lot more casual about saying, hey, so have you kissed any girls this week at school? Because I was a cute kid and girls like me. So I guess that's why I was more exposed to it at, you know, the age I was, at least communicating it with adults in a casual, more relaxed manner than a lot of kids, especially females, are comfortable talking to anybody about sex. So, I don't know, maybe that's why I feel like I've got a healthy grasp on sexual relations.
Probably.
But porn had a lot to do with that too, because I realized how extreme pornography can be, but it was also through my relations with girls it's very hard to explain because I want to root for porn,
Right?
but I also can't root for porn.
Because.
But I also should root for porn. Like it's a very messy area because it's alcohol, it's cigarettes,
Oh.
it's weed, it's cocaine. You can get away with it for a little bit if you're a casual consumer and you use it sparingly. You're probably going to be all right with it in your life. But if you're, waking up, jacking off 2 times before you get out of bed, and then you jack off 1 more time in the shower before you go to work, and then when you're at work you take a shit break just so you can go jack off 1 more time, then you're having some issues with porn. But that's an addiction issue. That's not a pornography issue, in my opinion. But you have advocates for anti-porn legislation, or whatever you want to call it. So people like our former guest, Kim Coulter, and I think even our more recent guest, the Vegan Patriot, was also saying something along those lines about the negative aspects of pornography in society today. But how do you feel? So you found this magazine, back to the whole roundabout, you find this magazine.
Something tells me it was earlier than that, but I can't remember.
What do you mean, like younger in your life?
Yeah, like there was an incident before that.
Oh, okay, that there would have been more exposure.
Remember.
Now we're talking about pornography, not sex, because sexual relations were experienced at different times of pornography for me. I remember my first experience with like finding porn was probably just late night TV, like seeing those. I'm finally popping boners and immediately knew what to do with that. Hump the shit out of your bed. And laying there on your foot, all of a sudden you start getting boners and you start doing this grinding motion, you don't even realize you're doing it, then all of a sudden, uh-oh, first orgasm! That's not porn. So once I had gotten the grasp of my imagination can do whatever I want it to, one day, it was probably when I stayed up late and saw those call line commercials. And the girls are on there, they talk like this, and they just want you on the phone for some hot conversation. I was like, boy, all right, ready to go. And then I realized, at certain times of night, on certain channels, at certain friends' houses who have cable at the time, and I didn't, they show these same types of girls without their tops on. And then a few years later, HBO and Cinemax comes out with the After Dark, the real like softcore, softcore porn stuff starts coming out. Not just like Al Bundy's hanging out with a Bud Light model or whatever, you know what I mean? Do you remember that? Like that was always a thing in the 90s, man. Those old, back when you had those big box television sets, yet kids, they weren't just screens, they were boxes for the screen.
Heavy boxes. Heavy boxes.
I mean, heavier than Frank boxes. Even the light ones.
Yeah, and I'm a full 92 pounds.
Yeah, you're buck 92 at the heaviest. So these things were massive, man. But my point was, back in the day, it was, you couldn't get away with that kind of stuff. Like Al Bundy just like watching a strip. Like, could you even have Married with Children on? Always bitching at Peg to stay in the kitchen, and at Kelly for kind of being a whore. Like it's a lot of slut shaming on Kelly's end, but a lot of like feminist power for her to like just keep doing it and not give a shit too.
Yeah, and if you look back at those times, but yeah, those episodes, every time they would depict a slut, she would be wearing something lot less revealing
than we have now.
Than now.
Yeah, than high school girls are wearing now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was always like a knee-length skirt, but tight, and then it was always like but it was always high-waisted over the belly button, and if there was belly shows, like the torso, like in between the belly button and the rib cage kind of area.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was maybe like a low cut. It was always low cut. That was what was risky about it. It was like legs and stockings and high heels and then low cut blouses. It didn't. The torso never mattered. Now you gotta have the ass out, the torso out, the cheeks out. I don't know how you not have your cheeks out. Oh, because nobody wants to date anybody with coronavirus. So you can't have a mask on. You gotta have your cheeks out.
Yeah. They were saying to shave your beard, and I'm like,
What?
Beard is religious. Do not touch.
The beard is religious for a lot of cultures.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fucky for them to say. Shave your beard, like.
I'm like, well, I'm gonna die eventually.
Yeah, it's like just don't fucking sneeze on each other's beards. I don't know. That's weird. So anyway, so about you never got to your experience. So what? They told you to
That
get
was
something
it?
from the
I
car,
fucking-
and you just saw it there. And what
I sat
happened? Did you
there,
take
and
it
I'm
with
like-
you?
I
Did
was-
you remember it for
No.
all
I
eternity?
was like, oh shit. Like, I knew what it was.
Oh, I just realized my first exposure to like a video cassette porn tape.
Uh-huh.
Because I would stay with my grandma after school, and I don't know, I was playing with probably a little jumping ball or something. I must have been like 6 or something, 7, couldn't have been much older than that. And I dropped it and it fell underneath the dresser. And I went under there and there was a video cassette of some porn on there. And I pulled it out, I was like, huh. I put it back. And then I sat back on the bed and started watching Child's Play, what that was playing on TV. I got 6 years old, that's it. It was just playing on TV for some reason. It made me scared of Chucky for a long time.
Yeah.
And real confused as to why are there naked people on a box under my uncle's dresser. I didn't understand at all. But that's like the very first memory I have of like seeing it out somewhere. And then like years later, my dad would have a stack of Playboys by his toilet, like just casually there for everybody.
Yeah. So I knew exactly what it was, which is what it's telling me now, that I had a previous experience, but I'm drawing blanks. So let's say that was my first experience. I didn't do anything. I just saw it and I put it back. I was like, oh shit.
How old were you
And
again?
I'm like,
Probably around the same 6, 7,
yeah.
pre-tens.
Younger than 6, because my brother and I are 7 years apart. So if I was 6, my mother was pregnant, and my mother was nowhere near pregnant. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks for clearing that up. Didn't need to know the exact month of the year I was just curious as to the age range. All right, so did you ever feel like, well, how about now? Do you watch porn now?
Actually, no.
Really? Are you saying that just because you don't want to upset some girl that you might talk to at some point? Or,
No.
Or do you really not watch porn?
No, I don't. I like fucking stay up all night and I fucking.
They say it's good for you. They say it's a good way to keep producing testosterone at a regular rate, and to have fresh semen in your system is supposed to be like something good for your
but
libido.
doses. Like if you're doing it every day for like fucking.
Well, if
20
you
minutes,
if
an
you can
hour.
ejaculate once every day,
Yeah.
like I find like 2 or 3 times every day is too much. But like if I wake up early in the morning, rub one out, you know, before I go to work, and then come home and have relations with my wife, a good 2 times a day, I think that's respectable.
I know a guy. Actually, true story. I knew a guy from Fox 25
Yeah.
that jacked off. If he hears this, he's gonna get mad because I think I'm
Don't say his name.
because I think I'm cutting it short. But he jacked off 14 times in one day in
Damn.
Iraq.
How old is he? 18? Like in the... Yeah, see, that's a young man's libido, man. That's before you've got... See, I got all my fucking out of the way before I got married, so like, my libido regulated. Like, I wasn't just like the whole time anymore, so I knew I was ready to settle down. You know what I mean? It's a legitimate problem. It's a physical need that male testosterone develops in humans, because... And I say it's the testosterone that causes it because it's like we said on the Vegan Patriot podcast episode. Like I said, rather. What was I saying?
Testosterone.
That what?
Testosterone building.
I don't know anymore. We do this too much.
Yeah, testosterone building. Because I was like, wait, isn't it every 3 days that we produce fucking sea monkeys?
I don't know.
I think it is every 3 days. So maybe if we watch porn like every 3 days and then jack off, that might be healthy.
Or just have sex.
Because, Because one of my corpsmen, back in the day, he was telling me because I know you're gonna find this hard to believe,
I do.
but I wouldn't jack off fucking when I was
Yeah, that's
18,
crazy.
19, 20.
I could believe it. Because I understand, like, there's if you don't start with a need, and it may be something to do. Like, my sister is all proud of herself because they run tests. Although she's got all these other health problems, the one thing she doesn't have is an addictive trigger mechanism. Like, there's a certain chemical response your brain exhibits, and it shows that you have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
Right. So my sister went through this series of tests and it showed that she doesn't have an addictive personality. I was like, well, obviously, there's a differentiator there. Obviously, I do, because the second I felt the feeling of fucking ejaculation, I needed it. Like, it just like this. When I started smoking weed, I needed it. When I started doing coke, I needed it. When I started drinking, I needed it. Like, it's just an alteration of the brain, a release of endorphins in a dramatic fashion that I'm addicted to. And some people, it's too much. Like, I know a lot of people that don't like smoking weed at all. And they're like, I don't know, I just don't like the way it makes me feel. And it's not like it doesn't calm them down or like, but I think the reason people get paranoid is because it's such a dramatic shift from the normal or the non-intoxicated to the intoxicated. It's such a dramatic shift all of a sudden that people can't choose not to develop an affection for it. So, but if you've started as young as, 10, 11, masturbating, and you continue masturbating furiously because you're not, because you're left alone too much, with your thoughts or whatever, like, I masturbated a lot because I was the only boy in a family of 4 kids, so the attention was spread to all the people doing things, and I was one of the younger kids, so I didn't have a lot of things going on at the time. So I'd just be in my room, just beating my meat, while my sisters were out to cheerleading practice, or dance this, or school that, and my parents were out to work. I was the homebody. Then masturbating turned into chasing girls, and then chasing girls turned into smoking weed, and smoking weed turned into fucking getting coke and drinking beers and doing this and doing that. Like, it was just always something that found my attention that I wanted more of. So I feel like it's the same thing with porn, man. It's all a drug. It's just a releasing of what it is in your brain, man.
Yeah. So this Corman was telling me, because I would jack off, he was telling me, he's like, no, you don't understand. You need to jack off. Because my mentality was, these are my kids, and I'm going to throw them away.
Oh, were you super religious about it?
Well, I guess I
was.
was.
Because you're not supposed to spill your seed. It's like...
some bullshit, but yeah, and he's like, no, you have to jack off, because if you don't, then you're gonna have fucking Dead Sea monkeys, and then it's gonna fucking, all this bullshit. He's like, literally, your health is in your hands. And I'm like, oh, so I guess I should jack off.
I don't know, it also sounds like somebody that's just justifying his chronic masturbating. So, now, we're talking about, like, casual, like, hormonal responses to masturbating more than we are actual porn. Mm-hmm. So let's get more into the porn aspect. Like, is there a problem with porn across the board, or would you concede that there is a problem with some types of porn? Is there a problem with the accessibility of these certain types of porn, or accessibility to all porn? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you've got things like scat porn, which isn't, like, it's deviant and it's disgusting, but it's not necessarily dangerous. You know what I mean? As long as everybody's healthy, no E. coli.
Well, what comes to mind is
2 Girls, 1 Cup.
Is Belle Knox, which was this one girl from Duke. Yeah, she had her time in porn, and she was advocating for how working in porn is empowering to women.
Okay.
But then in one of those, she got to, because she was saying that she would always pick, her role which movie she'd be in.
She got to partner.
And yeah, she did.
That's what happens when you're a porn star.
Her manager, or somebody, I guess in the contract it didn't say, what kind of porn this was. So she had no idea, and you can see it in the video.
So she showed up and not know if she was getting plowed in the ass?
No, she showed up, and it was the guy she chose, right? And she's like, okay, I'm gonna get fucked. But what she didn't realize was that she was doing punishment porn.
Oh shit.
So they were smacking the shit out of her.
Oh, that brutality shit. See,
Yeah.
that's the problem, especially when it's not consensual. I mean, when it's sprung on the woman like that, and then they feel like, well, they're not in an empowered position to say no once they're already there naked, and then all of a sudden, by the way, smack. Like that. By that case, she should have stopped the whole thing.
Yeah, you can see in the video that she just wants to fucking leave, and so because she got tricked into
so this is rape by pornography.
Essentially, I guess, because I mean,
it's not consensual. I mean, how is that?
Didn't consent to being
to that
around and
yeah.
choked.
Was there any litigation to that?
I want to say there was.
Okay, so
but what I remember is that because of that, she quit, and she went on saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. Fucking porn isn't female empowering. Blah blah blah."
Right. Well, I mean, it can be if it's run by the right. But see, my thing about porn, I think it needs to be much more highly regulated. I don't think any Tom, Dick, or Harry should be able to pick up a camera, record him fucking his girlfriend, and then start a website about it. Like, there should be laws against things like that. I say if you're going to be able to distribute any type of pornography, you should need to get a license for it. Not a license to record, a license to record and specify the type of pornography you're doing. And make sure that it's clear consent of the type. You know, there should be, it just should be much more tightly regulated. But because it's a fringe industry, a taboo industry, even nobody gives a shit. You don't have advocates in litigations trying to fucking say, hey, it's not all porn, because like I said, there's some really great porn out there that's like sensual, beautiful, actual love making that can teach kids how to fucking actually make love and not just try and fuck all the time, you know what I mean? The only reason I'm a more sensitive lover than just this fucking porno-enthused asshole that I could have been is because I grew up in a time of Skinamax, when it was all sensual, love-making porn and good storyline. I was all about the storyline.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, but that's not what you get, and now you get 6-minute clips of like fucking elbow deep inside somebody's asshole too. Like and that's fine too, because some of those girls really enjoy that shit. I've seen those videos; they are straight up enjoying it. Like that's fine if that's the case, but brutality shit, I've never seen one where it looked like they legitimately enjoyed any part of it.
Yeah.
That being said, I've never taken too much time to watch those things.
There's some people that are into it, but they are very rare.
Now the problem is that those things, but those things are available to people that are like on the verge of a psychotic break. It's like the availability of marijuana today or mushrooms. Like I believe that shit needs to be much more highly regulated too. If you have shown signs in the last few years of schizophrenia or anything like that, you should have to go through some sort of psychological evaluation before they start letting you take psychologically affecting drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing with gun control. Like, I say give everybody a gun, but why would it hurt to give them at least a quick mental evaluation, like a little 20 questionnaire? You know, you already have to, in most places, not everywhere, but in most places, you have to go through some sort of gun handling training in order to buy a pistol, let's say, you know? Not Texas, but in some places, they have those kind of regulations. So why wouldn't you also regulate the person's mentality? Because, all right, I can really fire this thing real good. I know not to point at nobody if they're not trespassing on my property. But how do you know what that dude's idea of trespassing is? Is it parking at his fucking front mailbox, or coming up to his door, or fucking banging through the window? Like the last one's really the only one where you're allowed to shoot somebody, right? Is if they've actually broken in. Because even in Texas, right, I don't think you can shoot somebody at your porch.
Well, coming down to your place, there's these ranches, and on those fence posts, the top is painted purple.
Trespassers will be shot.
Yeah, that's what it means. And every time I pass by,
it's painted purple?
Yeah.
And that's what that means?
Yeah.
How do you know? Where does that come from?
From, I'm going to call it the book, but yeah, it's I want to say it's common knowledge, but I'm pretty sure not many people know this.
I don't know that purple coded bullshit.
Yeah, so then every time I pass by there, I think somebody doesn't know about that, crosses over, because
The thing is, we're also 8 minutes away from the border of Mexico. So we have a lot of cases of immigrants coming through that are just fucking running through these fields all the time. You see Border Patrol flying through the whole time. You should have seen it through the parade today, the livestock show parade that we had here every year, where they've got a procession of all the Border Patrol like new toys. They got the motorbikes, the quads, the ATV, the quads are ATVs. The what are those fucking called? They're big ass 4-wheeled like dune buggy type thing. Like they're fucking rad. ATVs, all-terrain vehicle. Yeah. It's an ATV. Whatever. How did we get on that?
So yeah, that's why when I was doing porn, I'd always have a fucking...
When you were doing porn?
Yeah, I'd always type up an agreement, and I'd record them reading it out loud.
Didn't you just like record one chick one time?
It's very difficult down here because these girls are like...
Down here or anywhere, how many times did you record anybody? Just the once, right?
Just that once.
Yeah, you're not a porn director, dude.
No,
you just
I'm not.
recorded some chick one time.
Yeah, and I stopped doing it because...
I used to record myself having sex all the time and ask your friend.
Yeah, real good. I would do that, but again, consent and everything, which is what made it so hard. So I just fucking threw it in the towel, so to speak, because like.
Well, it helps if you offer money.
I did offer money, and most of the time,
had to be a lot of money,
which is fucking why I only did it once. They accept the money and not show up.
Oh, why would you give them the money?
And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna have money until they fucking show up. So then it'd be like, okay, well, so I can know you're real, send me something, like $20, $5. So I send them.
Oh, that's so dumb. A deposit?
Yeah. So I send them $5.
You are the worst.
And then they're like, okay, and then they don't show up, and I'm like, bitch. And I had this one chick that had the audacity to not show up, and then a few days later. She's like...
What were you trying to do? I'm so sorry, it sounds so skeezy. It's just... How old were you when you were trying to do this?
This was like last year.
Oh, good God, Frank. You're a grown man asking how old are these... And it's just you. You don't have like a professional camera. You've got this thing. Hey guys, does this look like an HD camera that you watch porn on?
It could be. I just don't have the setting on for it to be HD.
Okay. We need faster pixel movement.
Yeah, but
we do a lot of action movements.
Had the audacity to not show up, and then a few days later be like, "Hey, so when can I come over?" And I'm like, "You could," and you decided not to.
So the one girl that got cold feet one day and then decided, you know what, I am willing to do it. You said, nope, too late, fuck off, and she's the only... You are the worst type of producer.
No, because I told her, I'm like, what makes me so sure that you're going to show up this time? And she just didn't reply.
This is the guy who wanted us to have your cousin on like 2 or 3 times after she didn't show up the first time. Then she didn't show up the second time, right? And then when they're like 2 times...
Yeah, she postponed.
Whatever.
Which is different.
Which is no. It's
she actually said...
No, it's the same fucking thing.
No, because
you don't show up when you're supposed to show up.
Yeah,
you can't postpone the day of.
This chick didn't postpone or anything. She just didn't show up.
I wouldn't either. You're a creepy fucking fucker offering people money to record them.
Yeah,
You don't have a production company. You don't have any waiver, like actual paperwork. You're just going on verbal agreement. That doesn't inspire. It doesn't inspire confidence, though. Do you understand? It's not like you typed it up and had it printed out by a lawyer.
Oh, not by a lawyer.
Well, if it's not, I mean, it's.
Yeah. So the idea was to have a fucking Pornhub channel, because I'm like, yeah, this will be fucking great. And,
easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you try the island? The island. You could have done this whole spring break thing.
Yeah.
Especially if you show up with cash in hand.
Yeah.
So are we finally going to get to the end of the story? We never hit up the end of the story on why you're on probation.
Oh, that's right.
We got to the whole emotional.
No, we can do that later.
Depression.
Like another episode. We're talking the sacks right now.
We're half an hour in. We're pretty much done. You don't want to wrap up with...
You don't have any other fucking questions?
What do you want me to say, man? I mean,
I don't know.
I do.
You have your notes.
I do. Okay. Well, aside from porn, let's talk. We're so desperate into the orgasm. I want to talk about something that people need to understand what it means to have a porn addiction, or just an addiction to masturbating, or an addiction to orgasm, really. Um, people don't understand that an orgasm is like a reflex. Like the need for it is compulsive. Some people have the need to blink a hell of a lot more often than other people. Some people have the need, that muscle spasm that they can't get rid of, you know what I mean? Some people never get it, You never had to masturbate. I had to masturbate quite a bit. I still do. I still have a strong libido. Not as much as it was when I was in my late teens, but a hell of a lot more than my early, whatever. So listen, orgasm reflex. I was watching this TED Talk, and there's something called the sacral nerve root that runs along your spine, and they found that if you stimulate that in a body in a certain way with electrodes, you can produce an orgasm. That's no sexual stimulation at all, just orgasm. So if there's a wiring in your body that can physically be activated like that, you have to assume that it's 100% possible, at least possible, that it would be miswired. You know what I mean? Just like we have people with neurological damage in the arm and it twitches, people have Tourette's. It could be the same thing for people who just excessively need orgasm, It's just something is wired wrong in their body, a physical thing that maybe something could be done about it with surgery, and maybe it's a chemical thing that would require chemical, pills to help you relax, which would probably be like Adderall, some like ADHD medication or something to keep you from being so jittery in the pants. But so I just thought it was interesting. I wanted to wrap it up with some inappropriate orgasmic relief.
Okay.
So according to this TED Talk, there was a history of a woman who would orgasm every time she brushed her teeth.
Huh.
So she'd be brushing her teeth, right? Just and then orgasm, brushing her teeth, and I don't know if she spit or swallowed the toothpaste. What do you think?
She probably swallowed.
Just compulsive. All right, so that's one. There is an instance of a woman who could orgasm by stroking her eyebrows. It was such a sensual feeling for her that she orgasmed. Spinal injury, people with spinal injuries who end up with like paraplegics, or they can't feel their leg from this point down or whatever, or amputees or whatever. The nerves can get damaged to a point where they're so sensitive in that area, is basically like the tip of your cock or the woman's clitoris, and they can orgasm by fucking the sensation in this one area that just got damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Brain dead people can still have orgasms if you were to stimulate that same nerve ending that I was talking about in the spine. What was it called? The sacral nerve. Apparently, if a brain dead person, no chemicals moving around in the brain at all. It is strictly just by touching that nerve that you can cause orgasm. In fact, it used to freak people out when they were first doing these experiments, because that same sacral nerve root, when they would, it's along the spinal cord, they would produce something called the Lazarus effect. Like from, how Lazarus was raised from the dead?
Yeah.
So this is what it do. For those of, I'm going to describe it for people who are just listening, but for the camera I'm going to do. So they're laying down, right? Arms down to the side, and all of a sudden both arms would just cross and touch their shoulders, and that it would produce that. Like, it was weird. I didn't read into like how it makes them do that, but it's just like it makes your arms respond post-mortem, with after death. They would, and it's called the Lazarus effect. Really cool shit.
So is that why the Egyptians would wrap their mummies that way?
No, I think that was just the most concise way to wrap somebody up. Right? I mean, I guess because I wonder, did they always wrap them up in a sarcophagus with their arms crossed, or were they?
I think so, yeah.
I want to say I've seen them with their arms to the side too. Just depends.
Not an archaeologist.
But anyway, so that was our
Egyptologist.
That was our porn episode, guys.
Ooh.
I wish we had more time to get more into it and spend a good 20 minutes longer on this, but I've got shit to do. I got family engagements going on throughout the weekend. So, any last tidbits of information, or didn't you want to say the history of porn? We can riff on that. Did you have any of that left in you?
Well,
You mentioned something about it. What do you mean the history of porn?
Yeah,
Isn't it
I looked
always
up.
a thing?
I looked up the history of porn because Kim wanted to talk about porn, and I'm like, well, I guess we're gonna talk about the history of it, but no, how it's harmful to our society, whatever the fuck. But
wake up!
but
yeah,
but,
pep up!
but,
We're here at the end. Home
but,
stretch here. Come on.
Yeah, it's fucking. What it said was that it's always been a thing.
Of course.
We
found ancient stones in the shape of dildos
Yeah.
from like eons and eons ago that are all smooth to the touch. Like, how did these stones get so smooth?
like the first artifact of pornography was that lady with the big boobs that fucking stole
the little structure, right?
Yeah.
Those fertility symbols. Like, do you guys really think that we always pray to gods about fertility?
No, that they would always jack off to that.
Yeah, why wouldn't we make things
well,
because if women were hard to keep a hold of back then
yeah, it's not like now that we have fucking Tinder and shit.
Well, and we forget
Caveman
ancient cavemen and stuff. Like, I think there's a theory that they were not monarchical. What is it? Not a patriarchal system, but a matriarchal system. Where the women were actually the leaders of tribes and all these industries. So if the women were the ones deciding like who hooks up with who and stuff like that.
Yeah, apparently our world was a matriarch until Christianity came about.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was patriarchal.
Who knows? Anyway, in the weeds. Take it easy, everybody. Find us at completelyinappropriatepodcast@gmail.com. No, I'm sorry. Anything?
That's it.
So you were gonna have a whole conversation about the history of pornography.
I thought it was.
By saying
But
it's always
wrong.
been a thing.
No, because you brought up like it's always been a thing, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's essentially what it said. That it's always been a thing.
Yeah. There's not a lot more into that one. So
Yeah.
let the people know where they can find us, and let's wrap this up.
Okay, you can find us in the Twitterverse under Completely Inapt. You can find us on Instagram under CI Podcast. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube under Completely Inappropriate Podcast. If you throw in a few underscores, you'll find us in the BitChutes. And you can email us with your questions, comments, concerns at completelyinappropriatepodcast@gmail.com.
We love you, people. This is always fun. I don't always love doing it with Frank, but I love doing it for you, so we'll keep doing it.
You want me to find you another?
I just want you to show up on time, you piece of shit. Just show up on time. Just once a month, try and show up on time, and then repeat it every other time you have to show up.
Once a month I'll show up on time.
Yeah, I mean, just start with one time, 1 month, and then let's try and follow it up the next week. Fucking deal tons before. This has been the Completely Inappropriate Podcast. I'm Tony, and this is
Frank.
Find your happy people.
Be excellent to each other.
Comes from his mama, and he likes pie. Say bye, guy.
Bye, guy.